helps as we head into Highview.
Right, let's look at the spawns. Actually, somewhat even.
Yeah, so the Uvu's exposed for RecoN, but on the flip side,
No.
SortOf has very exposed gold veins, even though they're on the backside.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good thing that both players have one thing that's kind of like exposed and one safe. So obviously, sort of will have Stone that's safe, so his production will be safe. And then on the other side, RecoN has. I'm pretty sure that TC is in the range of the gold. Yeah, that is 100% range. So I feel like I would much prefer RecoN spot, to be honest, because if you are going for barracks, which both of them are, as it's looking right now, because they're both chopping wood still, RecoN can put forward barracks, just kind of propel yourself faster. And once the game, if the game reaches to castle, then he has step readout under the TC, and then sort of has to build towers, because you don't need to build towers under Uvu if there's knights coming, but you do need to build towers under gold if there's lancers.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing to think about here for RecoN is it's more important for him to be the aggressor, because if he goes on the defensive, like, he will lose that double production. That will be cut off because it's a forward Uvu.
Yeah, and RecoN now sees, right? He sees the gold exposed. He sees the gird there, so he knows that this is his
as good as it
available
gets.
gold. Yeah, so he is probably happy with this. And again, like I said, he has so much experience, so he knows, like, okay, gold is exposed, so this gives him potential to do this or that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would probably be pretty satisfied in his position. There's a stone right there as well, by the way, so even the second stone is pretty close.
It's not just a stone, actually. The other crazy part, and this is going to be key because you just saw how little sheep RecoN has, is SortOf has food options. Right? He's got the Uvu close, so you can go pastures, or look at both of his deer. Then compare those to RecoN. RecoN's only choice long-term in this game is pastures.
Yeah, RecoN might I mean, if RecoN, both players can actually go second TC. So if you look, let's assume they both go second TC, sort of has two berry patches on the right that are like super exposed, but his initial resources are better. On the other side, RecoN has nothing close, but the 4 resources are all like next to each other. So one TC would be really, really nice for him.
Oh, do you know what the other brilliant part about it for RecoN is? If they do both go for that 2 TC build, that TC isn't a liability due to Stealth Forest, because he can drop it on the deer, and he'll see on the left flank as well as center.
Yeah. Yeah, I think both players have pretty decent options there, and we do see Spearman going at it, sort of doing the smart thing. He's already poking at the spears, and he's actually doing quite a bit of damage. Look at that. Just from the con, just poking, while RecoN's con was collecting sheep, because like you said, he was a little bit long.
Yeah, now they're both here. The problem with these type of fights is you don't want to trigger the maneuver arrow first. It feels like whoever has to maneuver arrow first in these even fights is going to come out the loser.
Yeah, because once the reinforcements arrive for the other guy, he's going to chase you down.
Yep. It's just like, okay, great. You don't have the ace in the hole now. I can just play this however I choose.
Yeah, RecoN so far taking a lot of damage from this con. Like one of his spearmen is like 70% health. They haven't even fought yet, right?
No. A little bit of free damage on the Uvu, but no actual clash coming out. Now, RecoN does have the numbers. The problem is, once again, to gap close that, you have to trigger that maneuver arrow. And then you're disarmed.
This is so funny, the meta. Like, they're both shooting at each other's spearmen. And they're just continuously massing spearmen, And this is one of those things. Back in my day, people just moved into one another, 1-1, and that's it. Uvu was gone. But now players are, a bit more careful.
Min-max.
Yeah.
You goddamn nerds. Even the line formation to make sure he can't be gap closed upon as well. Small details, but they do help.
Yeah, SortOf is already on goal, but...
Uh-oh, he's going for it. Wait, he maneuver arrowed to stay in, but now RecoN, he can have the reactionary arrow, and actually right now, like, the trades are decent for RecoN.
Yeah, RecoN can now chase this. And if he uses the arrow, it's going to be pretty good for him. Don't think he's used it before.
No,
so
he just chose not to. He's like, okay, I'll just keep holding it. Just in case you've got double the spears coming in. And I'll go, okay, yeah, that was a whoopsie. So now you want it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a misplay. Like, he should have definitely maneuver error on the way there. Because he would have not killed anything, but he would have gotten, like, auto attack with all the spearmen at least once. And that is, like, a lot of damage overall being done to SortOf spears. And SortOf is 13 spearmen.
Yeah, not just that. He has a quicker tech up timing. This is actually turning out pretty catastrophically for RecoN.
Yeah, RecoN is mining a lot of wood. He has 240
and gold.
wood.
Like, look at the extra gold he's just holding. It's because he had to go pastures, right? Like, if we check SortOf's base, I think he didn't go pastures. I think he went deer. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. I think he just had enough sheep, right? That he didn't have to transition. Yeah, he just had enough sheep this whole time.
Yeah, he has plenty of sheep still under the TC, so that is really rough for RecoN. I think he might be even like about to run out of food as well. RecoN, I mean.
Yeah.
Because the villagers are looking like they're all around the same sheep, so he might be struggling there. Yeah, he has
two
carcasses. Two sheep carcasses, yeah.
That's why he has to go for the extra pasture. That's going to set him back. That sets him back with his tech timing. That sets him back with investment elsewhere. That's why he's gathering so much wood. His only redeeming quality is if he can get a quick tech up, he can get the archers out. He can find the solution. But right now, SortOf has a clear lead. 18 spearmen total.
Yeah, he's been producing non-stop. And he has to repair the Uvu, and the upgrade to Hardened Spearman already started, so SortOf is just going to pounce, like, immediately when that is done.
He'll commit for the Uvu. Like, that's the big thing. It's not just 150 wood that RecoN has to expend again. It's 50 resources into SortOf's pocket. It's the beautiful thing about the Mongol Mirror. It is vicious. Any small lead becomes a very big one like this. Clash. RecoN. Okay. He mistimed it a little bit, so the initial stab's not favoring him. And now as the spread out comes through, SortOf feels like he should be favored here, especially with the pullback, to make sure he can spread out and his superior numbers can actually be utilized. Looks like RecoN's going to lose the entire army.
Yeah, not looking good for him. He's definitely getting the worst out of the deal. And if you look at the spearman count, it's not looking good. 5 against 10, and let's not forget, SortOf is still getting stoned, so this is looking really, really bad.
Maneuver arrow, just to try and give chase, kill off another spear if he can. Can't get the final stab out, though. We'll have to back away. He's now playing into Yam territory. Somebody's got to respect, so instead, get rid of the racks. RecoN stopped. He didn't bother to invest in more spears. There's too much burden onto his economy. You can see the effect of that as well. 4 pastures now because of how deep he is in the debt, how high the food requirement is.
I mean, this is really bad for him right now. It's like SortOf is slowly moving to castle. Slowly gathering resources. You can see he stopped using the stone production. He doesn't need to. There's some AFK spears in the middle as well. He is going for double archer, which he actually doesn't even need. You know, he can actually just kill whatever is left, and this is super, super rough for RecoN.
Oof, gets worse. Rax, he's committing, can't quite finish it off, so it's going to survive, but it got set on fire, so SortOf gets 50 more resources, and now you have to waste more repairing it. And the archery range, you know, you can see it coming out from RecoN, but because SortOf has his Uvu, he can double produce. Even though he has to run across the map, he's going to have the numbers to his favor still.
Yeah, I mean, he can potentially get the top stone, but even if he gets it, how do you defend it, right? Mm-hmm. He can't double produce archers either, so that's another issue. If I'm SortOf, maybe take one villager and you just like drop a tower on the wood line just to make stuff even worse for him.
Actually, if you're SortOf, you just look towards castle. He's hoarding. He's about to have what he needs.
Yeah, for sure. He's just gonna click up. No reason not to, right? And he can. Oh, he hasn't seen the gold yet, by the way, so he's trying to find that. He's not sure where the gold is.
Whoops.
He should know that it's most likely under TC.
Yeah, both of you got back spawn, so. I think the tough part as well, that this is why I'm never the biggest fan of the Ford Evu spawn, is it feels like if you lose that initial clash, like it almost just feels GG. Like you don't have double production anymore. Yeah,
it's worse early game if you're both playing aggressive, but having back gold is or gold under TC is way better like castle, right?
Yeah.
It creates for kind of like a play where SortOf wouldn't be able to do a Lancer harass, while RecoN would just have a field day with that open goal. But you know, sort of took the advantage early on. He finds the Ubu as well,
God.
and that's gonna go down as.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the logic is that with the gold spawn, there's maybe a little bit more opportunity to recover, right? Because it's coming at later timing, so you have more choices to make. Whereas the Uvu, like if the Uvu gets blocked out in the Mongol mirror, like you're just being outproduced. Even if you're in your own base, outproduced. And you've seen the effects of that, how that has rippled into so much more. RecoN losing another Uvu. That's now 300 wood that's been wasted, and 100 resources sort of has been paid.
Yeah, that's quite a big. What are those villagers?
Oh, they're going back to help the step read out for some reason.
They're like, let me help. Oh,
yeah. It's like you know that person who comes in for the last hit. They're like, I helped.
Yeah. Puts like a sticker on the finish house. It's like, okay, great job, everyone.
Yeah, you just like you're there. You've killed the target, and they drop like a sticker on the floor or spray paint a taunt. They're like, yeah, I was part of this.
Yeah.
Go team.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, and we see sort of going wheelbarrow. RecoN aging up, but oh, he actually got another Uvu. I mean, at this point, I think you got to take the risk, right? He took the Uvu on the left side, and I think you just kind of hope, right? Like, what else are you gonna do? Oh no.
Maybe just not. Is that an option? That might be an option he wishes he took, because I mean the archers are skirting around. They might scout it out. Considering the spears.
I mean, he's hunting for Uvus. You can see he's just looking where the Uvu is. The spearmen are top, and luckily for RecoN, it seems that SortOf is just scouting the rest of the map, and he's gonna miss out on that Uvu. So the knights or the lancers, sorry, will come out, kind of uninterrupted, and he can actually produce 2. You know, so there's that.
Yeah, and considering that SortOf doesn't know where it's coming from, maybe it's a flank attack that gets into the eco. But you know how players sometimes kind of get nicknames related to civs? Do we just call SortOf the Uvu Hunter? I think that's
the Uvu Slayer.
The Uvu Slayer.
I mean, he has to do it at least in one more game against someone.
True, and also I feel like Slayer suggests he always gets it, whereas in this, Hunter is more fitting because he hasn't found the third one.
Right. But as long as he's hunting, then...
Exactly.
I like that. If you look at the unit count, don't look at it, it's scary. Not a lot on RecoN's side. The overlay is not bugged, he just doesn't have any. He's got 4 archers, a lancer, and a con. And, uh-oh.
Hey, chill. He's about to increase his military capacity by about 30%, right? 2 crossbowmen coming out. Lancer as well, Beasty. That's a 50% increase.
Oh, that's so funny. He doesn't see it.
Oh, my God. Okay, he has to now. Yeah, he's finally got in. It's a triple stable, though. Surprise.
He sees no production on, like, around the main base. So he's looking... I mean, triple stable in this situation, like in a normal game, you can't win with a triple stable because the enemy has spearmen and crossbows. But in this situation, you gotta do something crazier.
I mean, in this situation, like you don't have enough lancers. The spearman could just clean all 3 of these tables up, and the Uvu, and he's even got a relic. Just stay back.
Yeah, I think his plan was to like gather 10 knights and then attack on the other side and try to kill a bunch of villagers, because he was stacking the lancers right there.
Yeah, but the problem is he was already losing this. Like, just look at the lancer count. He was already behind by a notable margin.
Yeah.
It just got worse as well.
Gets that juicy gold.
Getting paid. The rest of the stables are going to make the great migration back to base. They say, I bought, the plan has failed. RecoN will take the small group of lancers he has and go on a suicide mission to do as much damage as possible. But I don't, like, how many buildings is that now? Is that 5 that he's set on fire? So he's got 250 resources. Then there's the cost of each one of these buildings being lost for RecoN. Like, he's so far behind just from a raw building investment standpoint.
Sort of is like DJ Khaled, another one, you know. Another Ubu bites the dust, and if RecoN makes another Ubu, I'm pretty sure that one's gonna bite the dust as well.
Would you just pay to have DJ Khaled say that? Like, another Uwu? Another Uwu.
Yeah.
Another Uwu.
Yeah. This is an advertisement. I mean...
Hey, man, we haven't got Overwatch money, okay?
Right. I mean, you can see, guys, here we go. The effect of the back gold is coming into play. See, he can't harass it too well. Sadly, he is 20 supply behind. and is looking very, very rough. Now for RecoN, is that a tent that he's making? I don't think there's going to be relics to pick up.
You got to believe. What else has got to look forward to at this rate? I mean, this is looking pretty rough. Look at his food income as well. It's just so much higher for SortOf, because remember, he's playing on the deer. And now he's going in for the second TC, playing relics himself. SortOf has 4 relics picked up already.
Yeah.
What?
And the last one is just an easy one. Is just go to the middle, stroll right there, just pick it up, carry it home.
Like, it's hard to try and stay positive. Like, this is the tough part about mirror matchups. Like you can just see when someone's clearly behind in every regard. I was like, you know, even Wheelbarrow isn't there before SortOf. Like, the eco lead, he's behind. The positioning, he's behind. Military count, he's behind. Relics, he's behind. RecoN needs to pull off some raiding miracles to get back into this game.
Number of Uvus, he's behind. SortOf 1, RecoN 0. So, yeah, I mean, this is the thing about mirrors, right? Any little advantage is actually massive. In other matchups, you know, opponent might be ahead in economy, but you have a unit that's unique to your civ, and it's a little bit better than what the opponent has, so that's your advantage. Or maybe you get relics quicker, or maybe you can capture sacred sites like Delhi earlier. But in a mirror matchup, you know, the numbers don't lie, and it's like, if you look at what they're playing with right now, 5 relics against 0. Sacred sites are going to be 2 against 0. Uvu, 1 against 0. 2 TCs against 1. It's just not looking good at all. And on top of that, right, you try to look for advantages, and you can say, like, okay, maybe RecoN has more army. Nope, he's got less of that too. So it's just looking really, really rough. And I think for RecoN, this is, like I said, maybe not his best civ, but definitely his most played civ.
Yeah.
And it you know, if he loses this one, he is 3-1 down, and the next game can potentially be him losing out the whole series.
Especially if there's maybe doubts in his mind. Like, I don't know if he's thinking about it, but the thing back to that last game, you know, we highlighted a moment where SortOf probably should have scouted the dock going up, and if that dock doesn't go up, the game changes. If RecoN felt like he kind of got fortunate with that element, played the rest of the game great, but got fortunate with that element, maybe that's set in his mind, and then losing with his best civ, all of a sudden his morale could be in the gutter.
Yeah, and especially if you don't have a history in competing, right? Then you might not be able to deal with those feelings of like, oh my god, I'm 3-1 down, I lost with my like really good civ, and you know, what am I gonna do, kind of thing. And if you don't know how to kind of manage yourself and handle yourself, it can be pretty difficult to play your best games from then on out.
I think to that element, like, I've talked to RecoN a little bit. He's very mature in his understanding of what he done wrong. Like, you know how some players just know straight afterwards. A lot of the best players do. Like, he gets that. I think the bigger issue is the pressure, right? Like, we have to keep in mind what is on the line here. If you don't get this slot, if you don't make it to Wololo off of this series, there are only 2 invites left, and you know there are plenty of dark horses waiting in that last chance qualifier.
Yeah, and I think this is the first time RecoN has reached the monthly finals, right?
Yes.
Not the monthly, but the monthly like actual playoff match.
It's rough as well when you think about it. So like the last one, he went up against Wham in the first round, who went on to qualify. And then I believe he didn't make it for the July ones. Or the June, if I recall. No, June he went out against a Muslim. But that series, I remember that was the first month, and it was a 5-game series. Like, he took Ben to 5 maps. So this guy is very capable, but like that feeling of just being like annihilated by the player who ends up qualifying, like maybe it brings you a little bit of solace. Like, yeah, he was the best guy in the month, but now like this is do or die. Like your chance is clearly in your hands, and you are right now losing clearly on what is your best civ, or at least your most experienced civ.
Yeah, and in a mirror matchup, by the way, which again is probably something he has played a lot of. Obviously, he will try. He's definitely a player that can come back from being behind, so he's gonna try his best. Like, no need to like tap out early. You know, he's got nowhere to go. He wants to make sure he gives it his all, and just 1% chance. I think players should still keep playing and keep trying. He's trying to raid. You know, one of the best ways to come back is through raiding, and you can see he's just going pure Lancer, and he's going to look for some kind of engagement where he overwhelms his opponent or maybe gets in the base and kills a bunch of villagers. This siege won't do too great. I think that SortOf doesn't really know that there's actually a very low amount of infantry. It's mostly cavalry. And one thing that RecoN can try and do while running around like this, he can try and swoop around on the siege and kind of overwhelm it without any of his siege. So instead of making his own siege, he's just making pure units.
Yeah.
And he's going to try to kind of overwhelm. And if SortOf doesn't have all his army in position, it is possible to actually win all that fight.
I think one of the tough parts for SortOf is, he's left his eco somewhat exposed, is getting big now, it's spreading out. And on top of that, it feels like because he's playing the static comp, he fell for the typical mistake that sometimes Mongol players slip into, where they just go down the center. Imagine if SortOf sent this siege force to the step readout. Imagine if he blocks out the gold. SortOf has no scalability in the heavy cavalry anymore.
Yeah, and we see him trying, but SortOf like 3 towers right there, making sure. Like he also knows like what his losing conditions are in this case, right? Not win conditions, and he knows like, okay, I gotta secure that gold. And again, the second TC, right? RecoN is still on 1, and he's just rough. Even if you're killing villagers, you're not getting ahead. You're more like trying to equalize the game then.
Also, now SortOf is getting eco back elsewhere by sniping out his pastures. Another thing that costs you 150 wood. RecoN, okay, he notices. A little bit too close for comfort. But the point I was getting towards is like SortOf is getting paid for the siege. These trebs are eventually refunding themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they're just getting value over time, right? It's not like they're a done deal that the treb will, or double treb. Oh, he killed all the passion.
Yeah, they're all gone. 150 wood per, and 50 resources to SortOf for each. It's just, this Lancer raid, it's getting less and less effective, because the problem he has is SortOf, his eco is still condensed at the moment, so he only has to defend really in one location.
Yeah, and I think this might be a make or break moment for RecoN. I think if he loses all these Lancers, he kind of might be mentally out of it, but I think once because RecoN doesn't see these units, right? He doesn't know how much there is.
No. He doesn't realize most of the army went back to defend. Like, he could actually go in and overwhelm. There's not that many spears in that area, but by the time he does now, it feels like it might be a bit too late. He has at least got mangoes, which isn't too bad. Like, SortOf has a decent amount of archers.
Yeah, it's almost 100 army versus Alpha. So that is a pretty rough one. And Deerstone's about to go down.
Upgrade to the bounty's about to come out for SortOf as well. He's sick of getting paid scraps. He wants the big boy cash.
Yeah, he was like, actually, I'm collecting quite a bit here. Let me just...
Yeah, let me just increase that.
Double it. Yeah, the landmark goes down.
I think he tripled it because he got the improved, right? Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah. So even more payday. 75 of each resource feels good.
I mean, guys, there's 33 spears. That's...
So you just build more heavy lances, right?
Yeah. I mean, he can't even make much, right? Like, I feel like RecoN's been on 23 Lancers for quite a while.
His food is gone. I think he was gathering berries in the corner. He isn't even playing deer. But actually, that left corner, it's hurting me right now. Just look south, though. You could be on the deer.
He could be on the deer, but he's playing.
Yeah, he's too busy. He's micro on the lances. He's too.
I mean, again, he's going for this, right? Which this makes sense, but again, SortOf is
in the choke point. It's a pseudo. It's a like half choke point, right? Because the tree line, you just can't even get in.
He knows like that. Again, it's very important to know winning conditions in games, but it's also very, very important to know the losing conditions, and SortOf understands that really well. And he knows like, okay, there's no way I lose the fight. The only way I lose if he just kills all my villagers somehow, and then I botch the attack. So what he does is he just has army split, which funnily enough is his split army is as strong as RecoN's full army. So here we go with the Springles.
I mean, this doesn't even look good for him. Like, where's the guard? Who's saving these? Dive in. Springles are going to be cleaned up. Free access for the Lancers and the dive into troops behind it. Nothing he can do. And now the double whammy. SortOf spots out the step readout. Does not hesitate to go right for the juggler. Wraparound coming in for the Lancers, trying to save the day. Will at least clean up all of SortOf's siege But in the meantime, your base is desolate. All landmarks are at risk of being sniped down. You've already lost 2. The step readout is now being torched down by the secondary army from SortOf. This game is looking done.
Yeah, very much so. RecoN is just kind of realizing in his own mind, you know, this is the one, giving a couple of moments for himself. And he does GG in the end.
Sayonara to the Mongols. SortOf now on match point. 1 more on the board, and he will be the second person from September to make it to Heidelberg. RecoN, nothing but perfection will get him there now.
Yeah, that was, again, that's a very hard loss to take, I think. Like I said, his good civ, most experienced civ. And, you know, whenever you lose a game in that kind of fashion, or you feel like you lost because you just, you know, either didn't find sheep or my UV is forward, right? It always sucks because maybe he feels like the game hasn't even started and the game was over already. So, like I said, it's a hard loss to take in. And there's a difference in mentality. You know, some players are down 3-0, for example, in this case 3-1, and they're looking at it like, I'm down 3-1, I need to win. And some players are losing, you know, 3-1, and they say it's 0-0. I need to, you know, I'll just do my best next game. And that's very hard to do, and to not think about, oh, if I lose the next one, you know, I'm out. And it's also very hard to make sometimes decisions that are maybe risky, because then you're like, oh, if I do this run by and there's units there, I lose the game. So then you don't do the stuff you normally do because you're worried you're gonna throw. And on SortOf side, you know, you do the opposite, right? You start doing some maybe YOLO stuff, you know, try to drop a keep without any like protection of units, because why not? Even if you lose, you got more games, and if you win, then you know, if you manage to drop that keep, let's say, you just win the game straight up. So the matchup we're going to be having is Basin.
Yeah, French
versus
Chinese.
Chinese.
I just want to like hit on your point there, because I think it's an interesting one to think about. It's like this mentality that can be helpful of like, the game is done, focus on the next one, take it one by one, do what you can. Tough part about that to consider is this is a game, this is a format where it's very difficult to compartmentalize each of these games, because you need to think about the wider draft, right? So it's very difficult to just condense that thought. By